morning, everybody, and a happy Tuesday morning to you. Once again, a long video, lots of information. You guys already know what's coming. You can tell from the pictures, but yeah, we're going to cover this too. So let's just jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off with Sophie, who is now in Guatemala. She met up with President Bernardo Aravelo, I hope I'm saying that correctly, at the National Palace of Culture. They had a meeting where they discussed areas of collaboration focused on three main pillars of gender equality, environmental sustainability, and creating opportunities for Guatemalan youth. Sophie also met the British ambassador, Juliana Correa, as well as Karen Herrera, the vice president of Guatemala. This meeting took place at the National Museum of Archaeology, and they discussed shared interests in promoting opportunities for women and strengthening efforts to combat gender-based violence. I also noticed that Sophie had that thing in her ear that we'd seen Meghan and Harry use before for translation purposes. When the meeting was over, of course, Sophie toured the museum. Just as an FYI, this visit to Guatemala was done at the request of the Foreign, Commonwealth, and Development Office. Other things that were discussed with the vice president were combating human trafficking, ensuring well-being in early childhood, and expanding opportunities for women. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what she was wearing. Now, I already told you that she met the British ambassador, and the British ambassador took her on to several visits. One visit was to the Street Kids Direct, which is located in Guatemala City. This is a British organization that protects children at risk of living on the streets. She learned all about their work, their mentoring, how they provide community to support, to vulnerable youth, and all the fabulous stuff that they do there. I believe, yes, she also joined in on a podcast and did some artwork with the kids. Of course, the kids just took to her because all children take to her. Now, after that, she went to visit the La Alianza shelter. Sophie took a tour of the facility. She attended a musical performance by the girls, and this visit highlighted the importance of education, safe spaces, and psychosocial support in helping young survivors rebuild their lives. The shelter supports girls that have been subjected to sexual violence and human trafficking. She also attended, by the way, a presentation highlighting the importance of safe spaces and education. I love this dress that she's wearing. She has her own style, you know what I mean? But she dresses appropriately for her body type. I love it. Thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what Sophie was wearing. Let's move on. Next up, King Charles has donated more than £50,000 to repair the roof of one of the late Queen's favorite churches. A fundraising campaign was launched to raise funds for St. Peter and St. Paul Parish Church in West Newton. The monarch, of course, dipped into his own pocket. He sent that money over via the Privy Purse last year to the West Newton Roof Fund, according to the church's annual report. In other words, he donated the money, but he didn't tell people. It came out later. That's how you do it. Let's move on to Zara Tindall. A day or two ago, she was wrapped up in blue. Apparently, it's very chilly where she was at the Cheltenham race course, very wintry. She presented jockey James King with a bottle of champagne after his victory at the Amateur Jockeys Handicapped Chase. So she gave him it. The guy was holding his child. She still managed to hand over the champagne. Now, the weather there is apparently quite bad. I mean, on this day, she was bundled up. You can tell she's warm. But what you don't know is the day before, Storm Claudia was coming through. She was literally hanging on to her hat in order to keep it from flying off her head. And to show you just how bad it was, some other pictures came up of the weather there at the racetrack. So the fact that she hung in as long as she did, holding on to that hat, I think that shows a real dedication to the sport, which we know that she loves equestrian anyway, but dang. A big thank you again to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what she was wearing on 2 separate days. Let's continue on. Let's move on now to Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh. He is in Nigeria at Lagos and Abuja, and he's there to expand the reach of the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award across the globe. We know he's chairman of the award foundation, and he's convening nearly 200 young leaders from over 50 countries alongside hundreds of global policymakers, education, and youth advocates. This gathering marks the triennial forum of the award, and the focus is on increasing access to non-formal education and youth development programs. So it's a 3-day leadership program followed by strategic sessions with government officials, development agencies, and education stakeholders. Edward is supposed to meet the president, Mr. Tinubu, I hope I'm saying that right, in Abuja, and attend events hosted by the governor of Lagos and the British Deputy High Commission, because this is actually a palace-sanctioned visit, so there's no fakeness here. He's actually going to meet people that he should be meeting. Now, participation in the award, for those of you who don't know, has surged globally, with over 1.2 million young people involved in the past year, and Nigeria recorded a 37% increase in participation, making it one of the fastest growing countries in the program. So Edward's doing really good work. And this award scheme, by the way, has been going for 70 years next year. Let's move on to Beatrice and Eugenie. Unfortunately, because of who their father is, they move in circles where there's private money, property, and privilege. And between corporate paychecks, family trusts, and grace and favor housing, people are really looking at the girls' finances. Like Princess Eugenie has been associated with Ivy Cottage, which is a standalone house on the grounds of Kensington Palace, which public records show has been used as a grace and favor residence by junior royals. Beatrice has also been listed as a resident in apartments associated with St. James Palace. And this is also a grace and favor arrangement where the crown makes properties available to family members, and it significantly reduces living costs for the younger royals. Both girls have professional careers outside the sovereign grant, which means they get salaries from private sector employers rather than a public wage. And both of their positions probably net them, they're saying, in the low to mid 6-figure range for senior positions. They both married men from prestigious backgrounds, and they both have direct cash inheritance, and it's a complicated mix of private trusts, family settlements, and grace and favor properties. That's just the way it's been run. I mean, a long-standing trust was established by the late Queen Mother in the 1990s to benefit her great-grandchildren, and so they make tax-efficient distributions at certain ages. And both girls have been publicly noted as beneficiaries on various family trusts that have been established over generations, so they get plenty of money. I mean, honestly, the girls should have known this was going to happen. There was no way, with everything going on with their parents, that people weren't going to look at them. If they've done everything correctly and above board, then they have nothing to worry about. All right, let's move on to Sarah Ferguson. Remember, she had that new children's book coming out, and it was delayed. Now it's been withdrawn from sale. Flora and Fern, Kindness Along the Way, was initially due to be published on the 9th of October, according to a press release in Bookseller. And as of last week, it was showing available from November 20th on Amazon, but now it's no longer listed on the website. Nielsen IQ book data confirmed that the title has been marked as withdrawn from sale at the request of the publisher. Ms. Ferguson's representatives, when they were asked, didn't have anything to say about it. The Waterstones last month told the BBC when asked that the publication date had been moved and they didn't have a new publication date. And now a spokesman for Waterstone said they've had no further communication from the publisher since then, and no reason has been given for why the book has been withdrawn from sale. But one industry source told the BBC that the decision made total sense commercially. You have to imagine it's to do with the current controversy. It's not the right time to release a book by Sarah Ferguson. They're saying they may sit on it for about 6 months or a year and then put it out. It's not the sort of book that's going to age, and you're not risking a lot of money by holding it back. That actually makes perfect sense. And let's move on to our Harry Meghan stuff. We know that Meghan's got this Christmas special coming out. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But what they're saying is that her Netflix program is more than likely going to be scrapped before the new year. The entire series is going to be scrapped because of declining audience numbers. Believe it or not, they put out odds on this. They're saying that the streaming service is currently 6-4 to cancel the program after the Christmas special, while viewership is supposed to be 5-4 to hit an all-time low for the series. The Christmas episode is anticipated to just get a lukewarm response, with ratings and numbers expected to fall. And so it looks like With Love Meghan is going to be just canceled. I mean, how many times did we watch her make a crudité board? That's her thing, just throwing stuff on a board and going, look at me. In the meantime, she's trying to get into the holiday spirit just after this whole dust up of deleted photos. They shared a video of her prepping her home for Christmas. First of all, that is not her home. I don't believe it is. I believe she's using somebody else's home. I could be wrong, but since she hasn't done anything in her actual home, we'll see. And it shows her stuffing a stocking. And here's the first thing I notice. It's beige. It's bland. There's no color. There's no festivity. All of the lights are white. Her outfit is monotone. There's nothing festive in what she's showing. Absolutely nothing. The video she released was beige and depressing. And remember, everything in the background, maybe it is her house, because everything is beige and boring. And remember, she claimed she had to tone down her bright style to fit in with the royal family, which of course we all know now is a complete lie. There's nothing that says holiday cheer. It's unseasoned manila envelope drabness. And people are saying she really likes these bland, earthy colors of beige and brown. Nothing looks warm. Nothing looks inviting. Nothing says Christmas like olive green and beige. I mean, come on. I think she realizes that Netflix basically has fired her because of these next stories. They're saying that Meghan is really trying to woo Jeff Bezos because she wants to professionally work with the guy. He's a billionaire. She wants him to bankroll future projects. Here's my thought process on that. If this man is any kind of a businessman, and he is, he'll look at the failures of Spotify, Lemonada, Netflix, Disney, and he'll go, no. Just as an FYI, just because he hosted Kris Jenner's party and she went to it, doesn't mean that he likes her, knows her, or has anything to do with her. He got married recently. It was a star-studded thing, and she was not invited. Let's continue. Now, another scandal that Harry is involved in again is this whole thing about did he or did he not inform the palace of his trip to Canada. Now, the way he spun it is, or the guidance was that the palace was informed ahead of time and appeared to give it the royal seal of approval. And that was important because it was, right before Armistice Day. And of course, we know that during the trip, Harry met the Queen's Own Rifles of Canada, which Camilla is Colonel-in-Chief, and then he spoke to troops from the Royal Regiment of Canada, of which the King, as Colonel-in-Chief, which is a role he's held since 1977, as I said. And then Harry met veterans who were taking part in creative arts programs at a hospital in Toronto. We know what's going on here. Harry has been told no half in, half out. His influence on both sides of the pond is circling the drain. And so he's like, you know what? I'm just going to force my way back in, which is why he's talking about security for other working royals, making it sound like he's a working royal, getting palace approval for these trips, even though the palace didn't approve. But this is what's going on. He's literally trying to force them to say, yes, he's a working royal. And this crappy behavior of Harry's is doing nothing but handing ammunition to William to say, we got to do something about them. I'm telling you. Maybe Harry's trying to force his way back in because people are pointing out that he's been reduced to the role of a subservient bodyguard role to Meghan Markle because she's trying to resurrect her acting career. And that Harry is so henpecked, his body language shows he's being used to being treated like one of his wife's staff members. I mean, guys, they're saying that he's in spare mode. Get it? And still, in talking about that party, they're saying that the fact that Meghan didn't wear a poppy was a deliberate snub to Harry and the royal family when she went to Kris Jenner's birthday party. Her not wearing a poppy, they're saying, was a choice, not an accident, and that Meghan is fully aware of the symbolism. The poppy isn't just decoration. It's a powerful emblem that means everything to Harry and the royals, and so by deliberately leaving it off, she was making a statement of contempt both towards him and the entire family. She's worn the poppy before, so her lame-ass excuse about, I just couldn't find one. You can go on Etsy, you can go on eBay, you can go on Amazon. And she had no problem finding one in 2024 or 2023. So, of course, the news got a hold of this, and they always speak and use their words better than I could. So listen to this.
Start with Meghan Markle. There are calls now for her to apologise after choosing not to wear a poppy on her label ahead of her Remembrance Day. Now, of course, bring us up to speed on what Meghan's excuse was for not wearing a poppy.
Yeah, so this was one that really raised some eyebrows, I think, across the Commonwealth. Of course, celebrations earlier this week for Remembrance Day. It's a huge part of the tradition of the royal family. They wear the poppy in the weeks leading up. I think it's an initiative that's been in place now really since the end of the First World War, where the royal family honours the sacrifices of servicemen and women, which I think is really important.
Of course.
You know, because when people maybe who aren't in the Commonwealth see headlines about, you know, people slamming Meghan for not wearing a poppy, they're probably thinking, oh, come on, this is such a beat up. But really, I mean, it's a symbol of respect.
Absolutely.
And it's a huge part of the tradition. She didn't wear the poppy, as we know, especially when she was out recently at Kris Jenner's birthday party. The optics of that, of her at this sort of celebrity bash with Harry, who was wearing a poppy, I will add. You know, meanwhile, the real kind of working royals are there, marking Remembrance Day. We had Princess Anne here in Australia. We had Princess Catherine leading celebrations in the UK. And her excuse was basically that they don't have poppies in the US, that she couldn't buy one. And I thought that was a very weak excuse. I mean, firstly, she's worn a poppy in previous years when they've been in Montecito, so I don't think it's an issue of her finding a poppy. You can also order one. She's a multi-millionaire. She had, you know, ample time to order a poppy. Of course, a lot of the poppies are sold to raise money as well for veterans. That's also an aspect of it. But I think that, you know, reflecting on it, her attitude towards this, I think, really reflects her kind of position now. You know, if she doesn't want to take part in the commemorations and the traditions of the royal family and not wear the poppy, I can respect that. You know, she put something up on social media saying thank you to the veterans. She wants to do that, that's fine. But give us back the Duchess of Sussex title.
Absolutely.
You know, she wants to have the associations of the royal family and she wants to profit off that, you know, with her brand and all of her marketing things that have Duchess of Sussex, but she doesn't want to do the work. And this is the issue. It's a life of service. Royalty is not just a title that you can use to sell jam. It's a service. And if she doesn't want to do the service, give back the title.
Well said. You know, I just think it's absolutely appalling and outrageous every time I see that title out on her website as she's promoting jams, candles, whatever it is, and then not wearing the poppy and having a terrible excuse. I think it's very disrespectful.
Boom, drop the mic. She wants the prestige and the title, but she doesn't want to do the work. Now we're going to finish up with the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Lisa Vanderpump. She took aim at Prince Harry. She made the remark when discussing the Duke of Sussex at BravoCon in Los Angeles. They were talking about Harry and Meghan Markle with TV host Jerry O'Connell, who noted that his wife, Rebecca Romaine, had recently flown on a plane with Harry. And here's what happened. He said, my wife said it was exciting, but not as exciting as when Lisa Vanderpump sat 2 rows back. Here's what was said. Just listen.
Exciting when Lisa Vanderpump sat 2 rows in front of me.
Well, I'm a loyal Brit. He isn't, right? So that's
Oh, come on.
Come on, you know I'm telling the truth.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Miss Vanderpump was born and raised in London, and she moved to the United States with her husband because they run a string of upscale restaurants. They're extremely successful. She said, I had a happy childhood in London. She lived comfortably with her family, and she started ballet at the age of 3. I love it. All right, you guys, hit that like and subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my second channel, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale on Amazon, and a link to my Amazon wish list as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.